Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, What's New in VAPS, Visual Advanced Production Scheduler, VPS, Visual Production Scheduler, and VJS, Visual Job Scheduler for Dynamics 365 Business Central. As always, before I start these webinars, a little bit of housekeeping bits and pieces. We will record the webinar and we'll make it available afterwards. By default, as this is a webinar, you guys are all on mute. But if you have a question, then you can drop the question with the GoToWebinar chat pane. When I'm doing demos, I might not get the notification or might not see the notification that you asked the question, so that please give me a couple of minutes to come back to my PowerPoint slides so that I can then answer your question. I assume there will be some questions, so as long as these questions are related to Netronic and myself, please feel free to ask them and I will answer all of them. Depending on the flow of the presentation, then either directly when you ask them or at the end of the webinar. But so please feel free to ask questions through the chat pane. The fact that you are muted is not because I do not want to have a conversation, but it's just like organization. So exciting times. Let's jump into this. My name is Martin. Most of you guys, I think, know me and have attended a lot of these webinars. And then, I always introduce myself. Hey, I'm Martin. I'm CEO and one of the owners of NETRONIC software. And like part of this sentence still is true because I'm still Martin Karlovic, but part of this sentence no longer is true since mid of last week, because actually we got acquired by Boyum IT from Denmark, and from now on my role is no longer CEO, but Michael Boyum is the CEO of our company. My new role is Vice President SaaS Global Partner Success, and we will figure out together what this will mean for all of us. But you can imagine when you announce that you sold your company, when you announce that you got acquired, then you will get a lot of questions. So I got a lot of questions from our employees. I got questions from partners. I got questions from customers. My wife asked questions. My sons asked questions. My parents asked questions. My friends over the weekend, they got the information somehow. So I'm getting a lot of questions, really a lot of questions. And my basic answer, my key takeaway to all these questions is the key message that I'm sending. Hey, guys, like darling, boys, employees, team, friends, parents, relax. This is great news for all of us. So I am super, super, super excited about this acquisition, and it was not at all an unfriendly takeover and I'm sitting here and looking for new jobs, but this was like a very, very friendly takeover, and this was a takeover really equally intended and wanted by all parties involved. So it is really the fact that we are no longer Netronic software and the fact that I'm no longer CEO of Netronic software is really, really great news and great news for all of us. So I will, other than announced, will now spend a few minutes on talking about the acquisition, about the why and the what. So just to frame this a little bit, to give you a little bit of background on this, and this will take me, I do not know, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And afterwards, of course, I will do what I announced when we invited you to this webinar. I will show you what is new with VAPS, VPS, and VJS. But I thought, because this is just breaking news and like my inbox is flooding over, I get calls. So I thought that also I use this webinar where we are now all together to give you a little bit of background of the acquisition and also kind of try to convince you to follow me on this line of thought that this is really, really great news for all of us. And then I do, as you always know me, I will share with you what we build, and I will also do demos, and I will continue to do demos because I just love what we are doing. So I get these questions like, hey, but Martin, why did you sell your company? Why did you let your baby go? Why did you? And they always, all these questions, they come with as if people are sorry for myself, but really you don't need to be sorry for myself. You don't need to be regretful, because all of what is happening, it is really, really great and excites me a lot. And here is why. And of course, when there are acquisition happens, there are always like the stories of synergies. But what we found with Boyum is just synergies all over the place. And let's look at this from very, very high level. What we as Netronic is always used to have, but also what we miss to grow faster, what we also miss to provide a better service to you, our customers and our partners. And then equally look also from a very high level what Boyum used to have for quite a long while, but also what Boyum misses. And then let's look if and how these puzzle pieces look together, fit together. So first of all, this is the webinar where we invited our Business Central customers and our Business Central partners. So all of you guys who have been engaging with us in Business Central know that we are an established brand with an awesome, really an awesome partner channel. This is all you guys out there on the phones, and that we have proven scheduling products. However, when I look at what we have here for Business Central, for you guys, what we can achieve with you guys, then we always also to some degree have been limited, that we were always focused on scheduling. And I have attended so many customer meetings, and I have met customers, I have visited customers where I always thought, well, if I not only would have scheduling, but if I would maybe have a shop floor solution, if I would have a quality solution, if I would have something here and there, then I could really bring a much bigger value to our manufacturing customers. And I also can work much better with our partners who are dedicated for manufacturing, who now have to work with a zillion of vendors to offer a zillion of products. Whereas as we have the manufacturing knowledge, I always thought, well, there could be actually a chance for us if we could broaden the product portfolio. But as a matter of fact, we have been too small to do everything. And so we always decided to be very, very focused and do what we are best at. And this is scheduling. Then what you guys might not know, and what we do for Business Central, this has been owned and driven by me, but I did not do Netronic alone. Actually, I ran Netronic together with my brother Elmar, and you may never have seen Elmar in the Business Central world, and this is for reason, and this is because Elmar actually owned and ran and did our business that we do outside the Business Central world. And yes, we at Netronic used to have a life and the business outside the Business Central world. We actually have a standalone production scheduling software that is called Just Planet, that we also branded differently, that is differently, that we target to different customers. And we have been ramping up this standalone cloud-based production software of Just Planet for the last couple of years, very successful, more than 100 customers globally using it. But what we miss here is really a systematic channel. So we are selling this directly right now, and selling it directly does not scale pretty much. It is a lot of work. We always face new situations. We face new ERP systems. We face new type of customers and of people to engage with. And this is like, we always felt like we miss a systematic channel like we have it in Business Central to scale this up. And now you see what we have, and to some degree also what we miss. And then let's look at Boyum. So Boyum has been in SAP Business One really a leading, if not the leading ISV, with a lot of manufacturing products. And in Business One, they have an awesome partner channel. However, they are now bringing all their products into the cloud, and they miss a scheduling solution for their cloud customers that are on Business One. And you see how this can match. We have a cloud-based scheduling product that has an API so that it can connect to different ERPs. They miss it, we miss a channel, they have a channel. But Boyum is no longer SAP Business One only, but I think 2.5 years, maybe 1.5 year, 2 years ago, they made the strategic investment and decision to bring over their products that initially were meant to be for Business One only. They made the decision to bring them over to other ERP markets. And they decided as the first other ERP market to go for that they wanted to go to business centered. So I met them first at Directions in Hamburg in 2020, and then we saw them also last year at the Directions in Orlando and at the Directions in Lyon, and they started to become quite active in the business central world, and they bring over proven products for manufacturing companies from what they experienced with SMB customers in the SAP Business One world. However, when it comes to Business Central, we have been working with you guys since 2012. So we have a grown up, a mature and established partner channel, and they are somewhat the new kids on the block in the Business Central channel. So they miss a strong channel as we have to bring their products to market. And now you also see in both business areas that we have something that can Boyum help, but Boyum also has something that can help us a lot. And so you can say, okay, like technically there's a lot of synergies, but for me, this would not have been enough to go for it. But what was really, really outstanding, whenever we met Boyum people over the last couple of months, whenever we came together, the room was just full of positive energy. You could really feel that there were like-minded people in the room that all wanted to achieve the same. And this is bring superb manufacturing apps to SMB manufacturers. And we really, really experienced a strong fit on personal levels. And in the combined package of being both companies that complementary in terms of what we have and what we need, and in terms of the strong personal fit that we experience at some point of time. And I don't know if it was my brother who said it to me or if I said it to my brother. I said, look, actually, I have been always super skeptical when somebody told me that there are situations in life where 1 + 1 = 3. But here in this case, we kind of thought, hey, we should do this because now we have together with Boyum, we have the unique chance to really, really make this true. And when we had this kind of thought, came into our head, we kind of decided to go in and say, okay, now let's look at how we can bring this together. So what will change for you as a partner or as a customer of Netronic using one of our scheduling products? I would say, and this is the same as I've been telling to our employees, if I'm telling to my family. So I said, for the time being, nothing really changed. And I expect also for the time being, nothing really to change for you guys, because both Business Central and scheduling, so that what we do, what you have been knowing us for, and what we have been engaging with for quite some while, is strategic for Boyum. So this will continue to happen. We will play a very active part in Business Central, and of course, scheduling remains like the core and the heart of what we are doing. And also, the people that you have been working for with will continue with their roles and responsibilities. And I will happily remain with Boyum. Plus, I'm also invested in Boyum. So the acquisition was to a high degree a share of shares, so to say, so a rollover of shares. So when we met the last time, I was owning a large piece of the small cake called Netronic. And now I'm owning a small piece of the really large cake that is called Boyum. So I not only happily remain, but I have also the intention to make Boyum succeed, because now I'm also like financially, I'm part of Boyum and I'm fully invested. I'm fully behind this. And if you have been working with Egon or with Paulina, with Lavin, they continue with their roles and responsibilities. So nothing changes at the moment. And then going forward, I think there are new opportunities ahead. So this is supposed to be a change, because we will have some new opportunities for you if you're a customer, for you if you're looking at Netronic, or for you if you have been partnering with us for the last years. The good news is, hey, there might be some additional things we can do together. There might be some additional products that can deliver value to you. There might be some additional products that you as a partner can sell, that you as a customer can use to fill further gaps in your ERP environment. And this means with the merger, actually, we are launching something that is called Netronic Manufacturing. And yes, you are right. And you heard right. We keep the brand name. We are not launching Boyum Manufacturing, but we are launching Netronic Manufacturing. So we have a really, really strong commitment also from all parties involved in our brand name, and in what we stand for. And Netronic Manufacturing is going to be a suite of cloud apps that enable manufacturers to bring their products to life. And I see that there is a first question. Somebody says the sound is terrible. Can others confirm that this is the case? So I'm just checking if this is an individual issue or a general issue. If it's general, then I would want to fix. It seems so. I get a lot of confirmation that sound is good. So thank you. No need to confirm that the sound is good. So it was an individual issue, not mine issue. So nothing to fix from my end for now. But thanks you for making the point, because in the end, if it would have been an issue on my end, then I would have fixed it. So talking about Netronic Manufacturing, let me just add one high-level slide. So Netronic Manufacturing is to help manufacturers bring products to life. So, and I know we have been working with really a lot of manufacturing customers through our great partners that we have. And some of you guys manufacture hydraulic systems. Some others manufacture certain parts that are now used in for electronic vehicles. Others of you produce beer, and then we have so many customers producing different things. We have piano manufacturers out there. So we have really a variety of customers that we serve, producing a variety of things. And I all know, if I personally speak to manufacturing customers, every of you is really proud of what you do, and every of you can tell me why you actually produce this, for whom you produce this, and for whom this is valuable for. And all of you also have an idea what your customers' experience should be using your products. And of course, the experience of using a hydraulic system is different than the experience of using a beer. But all of you guys, you know why you produce something, whom you produce something, and for whom you want to do this, and what they should experience with using your products. And in order for turning a product from your vision to your customer's experience, there are certain stages that the product has to go to come to life. And within Netronic Manufacturing, and this is also something that now we work on together with the colleagues from Boyum, I think the first step of bringing a product to life is to define it, to design it, to configure it, so to describe it, to build the bill of material, to build the routing, to set up the costing of the product. So to have intelligent way of how to design and define a product. And there will be an app that is called Build to exactly help customers on the innovation process. So on the process of defining and setting up and configuring and building new products. Then once you have the products built, you need to produce them, right? And what you need to do to produce them in the ERP system, you create production orders. And if you have production orders, if the product comes from the innovation into the production, in our point of view, you have to do two things, right? You have to become absolutely reliable, especially if you're a make-to-order manufacturer. You have to be reliable to make really concrete, precise delivery time commitments to your customers. And typically, scheduling is what helps with this. So for Business Central, we continue to have VAPS. For non-Business Central, we have a product called Just Plan It. But overall, we have a scheduling proposition. And then once the product is scheduled, and this was what we as Netronic were desperately missing, is then you need to control what is happening. You need to execute. So you need to have some kind of shop floor capabilities with which you can track the progress on the shop floor. And this is a product, an app that is called Produce. And then once it is done, and you can also rightfully say, actually, before it starts, when we receive the incoming material from our suppliers, then we also need to be sure that the quality is right. So there is also an app called Inspect, which means that going forward, when we talk about Netronic manufacturing, we will no longer talk about scheduling only, but we will also talk about building the product, about shop floor and producing the product, and we talk about quality and inspection. And the suite of this product will be called Netronic manufacturing. And just to give you a rough indication, the build is currently under development, so it's not yet available for BC. Schedule, of course, the VAPS is available for Business Central, and I think all of you who are using it and we are selling it, we have super traction with the VAPS, getting super feedback on this. Inspect is available for Business Central, and I heard just this morning that Produce will launch for Business Central sometimes in summer. And then the interesting thing is that we also learned that Boyum is more than just Netronic manufacturing. So there are, and this is just an example, horizontal product. So we have also a document processing product that is not just for manufacturing customers, but can be used by any customer. This is called Paperflow. And then we have a product which can be used by manufacturer, but which is not as closely built for manufacturers as these product, and this is a product called Perfion, and Perfion is a product information management system. And I just today, this morning, got my first demo of the Perfion product information management system that also is part of Boyum, and that is also already available for Business Central. And after I got the demo, I asked the new colleague where I could sign up for the Perfion fan club. This product, it really blew me away. And so I will look into this, and I'm pretty sure that this product will bring a lot of interesting opportunities if you're a Netronic partner. And I also have some customers in mind that we have been working with over the last couple of years where Perfion could really help you close the gap between your manufacturing processes and your customers, and much better help communicate your products, your product variants, and everything between you and marketplaces that you act upon. So this is Netronic manufacturing here with the red dots, but there is more that we will look at, and definitively we will give you an update. I will give you an update as we go along. So the acquisition happened, I think, end of last week. Today is Tuesday, the next week. So I do not have all the details right now, but I see what's really happening right now. There is change happening, yes, but as said earlier, relax. This change is a chance. It's a chance for you if you're a customer, if you're a partner. It's a chance for our employees. And it's also a chance for me to broaden the offering, to broaden the value proposition, and to broaden the value that I can bring to everybody I work with. May it be a Netronic employee, a Boyum employee, a Netronic customer, Boyum customer, Boyum partner, Netronic partner. So really interesting chance processes started to happen end of last week, and definitively stay tuned for more to come. You can be pretty confident the deeper I dig into these products, the deeper I get my arms around Netronic manufacturing, but also the more I learn about these non-manufacturing specific products, the more I will reach out to you and discuss with you what is in it there for you as a partner, but also what is in it there for you as a customer. So we definitively will continue these webinars. We will continue the conversation. And I'm really, really happy and committed driving forward to drive this. So with this, I think I spent 5 minutes more than I wanted on the acquisition, but you see, some people always told me in the past that I get super excited when I do demos, and I hope that you could sound and feel the same excitement now about what is happening on a corporate level with the merger of BioMIT and NETRONIC software. But now let's stop merger talk, let's stop Boyung talk, let's stop NETRONIC manufacturing talk, but now let's get big to normal, in terms normal of NETRONIC webinars run by Martin, who used to be the CEO of NETRONIC software. And let's talk about what is new in VAPS, VPS, and VJS. And this is really the cool thing. Although my brother and I were working heavily in the background on the merger, the team operationally just executed as planned, did what we did. So we released actually all product versions right before Easter as we planned, with in time, with the quality we agreed upon, with the scope that we agreed upon. So really, really big kudos to the team, and also not part of this webinars, but big kudos to the Just Planet team, because there we had exactly the same. And talking about releases, and you see now I have to switch to really, really small fonts here, but I continue to have this slide because this slide makes me always not only proud, but somehow I also feel that it gives me some superpower. We are continuously enhancing our products, and we are shipping a new product version basically every quarter, or we have been shipping it for a quite long time now, really consistency. So we have been shipping VPS and VJS since June 2019, minimum one version per quarter. And VAPS, we brought VAPS birth in the mid of the COVID crisis, or shortly before it hit us in January 2020. And also since then, minimum once a quarter, a new version that we shipped. And so now, just before Easter, we shipped version 122 of VPS and VJS, and we shipped version 117 of the VAPS. And as always, when we ship a new version, so that version where we count the number, the first number after the dot, this version includes bug fixes. We typically have new features and functions in there. We always look at ways that what we can do internally to improve the performance and stability. And if needed, we also ship new events and new objects, because all three products also have an API so that partners can build on these apps to make something very customer specific. And every new version that we release is sent again and again to Microsoft for App Source recertification. So actually, for us, the release date is not the date when the development is done, but for us, the release date is the date when the products appear on App Source. And we have been releasing a new version per quarter. And I see there is an Anglo typo in here. We have changed this beginning of this year, and this was also something that I communicated when I showed you the January releases. So with VPS and VJS, we are getting a little bit more relaxed because with VJS, we do not see the same demand as we see with the production scheduling products, and the VPS is an already very mature, very ready product, and so that we develop and continue to develop VPS and VJS, like following the demand we get for either new functionalities. But we started to concentrate really on the VAPS because this product brings the biggest value add to our customers. And I wrote this year as like the fourth bullet, that your ideas are more than welcome. I mean it like it is written. And also the smiley is meant as it is, that we are really, really happy if we get ideas, if we get suggestions from you guys, because typically more than 50% of the things that we build into our products are not things that we came up with, but these are ideas that either you told us directly or when working with you as customers, when helping you to get live on our products, to use our products, and sometimes we observe certain things and we make similar observations with customers in different countries or with customers from different partners or with customers in different manufacturing subverticals. They say, hey, actually, we have now observed this a couple of times. Let's build something for this. And of course, if we have different customers, different partners requesting more or less the same thing, then we also make this part of the roadmap. And sometimes we have been quite flexible with this. And this is also something that made us as Netronic, but also made our products very, very strong. And of course, also this is no new news. We are following Microsoft's modern lifecycle. So new versions, new functions that we build, we do it for the latest Business Central version. And other than Microsoft, we also support the previous two ones because we know that still some of you guys run Business Central on premises, or some of you guys always wait with upgrading Business Central to the latest version, and you are always one version behind. So we said, okay, we do not want to be as aggressive here as Microsoft is, but still we want to make sure that you guys, that we do not have to kind of serve too many versions for too many old Business Central versions. So we have release notes on our website, so you can go there so that you can track what has been changed, what has been added, which bugs have been fixed, which features have been released. I just put them here so that you can look at them later on, but I will not drill down into every release note. So the new version, and this is if you're working on an acquisition. Let me just change this. It's rubbish to do it live, but better recognizing now than never. So I didn't look at the date, but I didn't look at this because this is also really cool. You know, Business Central 24 just shipped a few days ago, and all products that we have, they already work for Business Central 24. The good thing for you guys is when we released our product, Business Central 23 was still the version. So we made the new version for 23, 22, and 21. And then after BC updated to 24, we made also the installation files and everything for 24. So now with this release, we are supporting 4 versions of Business Central, and this is all versions from 24 to 21. With VJS and VPS, we did as we announced earlier this year, and as we did with VAPS last year, both products are now transactable from AppSource, which means that you can actually buy them on AppSource. You can download the version there, and then you can also make the payments from there. So we are making we are treating VPS and VJS now also from the transaction point of view as we do the VAPS. And then with the VJS, we made some performance improvements, especially for customers. We made some performance improvements by switching the views from the resource view to the project view. And then, of course, we did some housekeeping and cleaning, and clean up some bug fixing for both of these products. And you can find the fixed bugs in the release notes. And then when it comes to the VAPS, we actually shipped a quite new, an interesting set of new features. We now worked on an improved handling of production orders with warehouse activity lines. And I know that there are some customers out there who will be really happy about this. The biggest feature was an automatic calculation of the earliest start date. And we now also have a progress bar, which we can show by time and no longer by quantity only. And then we also improved like the progress info window, and we made some performance improvements on create of the process to create a simulation. So I will not show the light ones here, but I will do demos and will go in more details for those that are shown here in bold. So improve warehouse activity line handling. Why is this relevant? Well, As you know, if you have production orders with warehouse activity lines, you cannot change them. So you are not allowed to change dates on production orders with warehouse activity lines. And if you try to do this on the production order itself, you get a message that says due date must not be changed and a warehouse activity line for this production or component exists. Business Central Standard. So far in the VAPS, the VAPS did not know about active warehouse activity lines, and hence it was really ugly. So if you have time lag between starting the picking and registering the pick, then we could have the case that you had warehouse activity lines on the production order, and then somebody changed the production order in the VAPS, did a lot of changes, and then you wanted to publish the simulation. So you as a production scheduler was done with your work, and then you published the simulation, and then you got this message like something cannot get changed because warehouse activity lines exist. And this was really, really not good because it was known that these production orders have warehouse activity line, but we didn't have this in the VAPS, and we let you guys do the job, your job, and then when you were done with your job, you got the error message. So what we implemented is that now, first of all, we identify production orders with warehouse activity lines, and we do not allow you as the person who works with the VAPS to change these production orders. So in the VAPS language, we treat those production orders that have warehouse activity lines, we treat them as pinned. They just stay there as they are and you cannot move them. You will also see those production order with warehouse activity lines. And what we also implemented a mechanism that before you are done with the work, before you are done with the simulation and leave the simulation, you can check if there are new warehouse activity lines. So we just want to avoid you that you build the schedule, you work on your schedule for, let's say, 2 hours. And while you're working on the schedule, somebody starts to pick items and does not register them. And then you have done your work. And then you have, again, production orders with warehouse activity lines, and you cannot save your work. And so before leaving the simulation and before publishing it, so especially before closing the simulation, we highly recommend going forward that you check if there are new picks that happened. So this is something that we implemented, and then the progress bar is now also by time, and this is relevant especially for customers with a batch size of 1. And we have a lot of like special machinery builders, like what I mentioned earlier, hydraulic systems, stuff like this. So we have actually a lot of customers with batch size of 1. And for them, for obvious reason, it is important to track the progress of operations by time and not by quantity, because especially if you build something with a batch size 1 and you have assembly processes that take 2 weeks, then you want to know how much time of these 2 weeks have already spent on that certain assembly activity. And it makes no sense if this is the progress is only trackable by quantity. So in the VAPS setup, there is now the option to show progress by quantity or time or not at all. And then the visual semantics, they remain unchanged. So if the routing status is plan or empty, there is no progress bar because there cannot be any progress. If the routing status is in progress, the progress bar is gray, and the quantity or the posted time is larger than 100% of the planned time, and it becomes red when the posted quantity or the posted time is larger than 100% of the planned time. And if the routing status is finished, the progress bar is shown in black. So the visual semantic have not changed, but I just put them here as a reminder. And with this, let me, for the first time of this meeting at an unusual late time, switch to my system and very quickly look at this. So first of all, in the NETRONIC, so if you have the VAPS installed, in the NETRONIC VAPS setup, we now under general, we have the progress calculation, and you can define if the progress calculation and hence also the progress bar that you see on the VAPS should be based on quantity, that was it as we had, should be based on time or if you do not want to see any progress bar. For some customers, it also makes sense to show no progress bar, but we can discuss this in the implementation. But if you're like batch size 1, if you're always producing one piece in a production order, then make sure you switch this based on time, because this will give you much more meaningful information. I leave this to quantity because typically in my demo system, I have production orders with multiple units in there. So not batch size 1, and then it makes more sense to post to have the progress based on quantity. We also have the disable warehouse activity line check. I would not enable the disablement, because then you get back to the old behavior, and I really recommend that you keep this switched off, because then we will make sure that in the VAPS we treat production orders with warehouse activity lines in the proper way. And with this, let me also look what we have here. Let me create a simulation quickly for example, in the production order view. And now look at how we can see that as a scheduler, we currently cannot move a production order because there are warehouse activity lines on there. So the picking process has been started, but the pick has not yet registered, and hence Business Central has frozen the production order. You see now, let me zoom in here a little bit, make this bigger. You see here this production order routing line with this lock. This is the same symbol that we have if you decide, sorry, this is the same symbol as if you decide to pin an operation. So if I pin the operation with capacity blocked, we get the black lock. And the black lock also means this operation cannot get changed, and it will not get changed by any algorithm. And likewise, this now is also locked. It cannot get moved, so I cannot grab it. I cannot drag and drop it. Also, if I squeeze in something here, it would remain where it is. And if you follow the production order, so this is the first step, we see the yellow lock here. It's the yellow lock. If you go down, the yellow lock. So the entire production order, all operations of this production order have this yellow lock. And this means this is a production order that has right now warehouse activity lines. So here I started the pick and I didn't register. If I would register, then these yellow locks would also would also go away. And so with this, we actually show you where you have production orders with warehouse activity lines, and we also avoid that you change them and then run into a conflict later. So if you want to reschedule them, then now you have to speak to your warehouse guys and say, look, hey, I need to move production order 10-10-23. Can you please complete the pick, so that once the pick is completed, once the pick is registered, then I can move them any further. And if you are not presenting the VAPS in a 2-minute demo, but if you're working with the VAPS and do a lot of scheduling, lot of changes, and maybe you had the simulation open for 45 minutes, then we always recommend now that you go to Action, Edit, Load Warehouse Activity Information, and then we check if we have production orders in the simulation for which the warehouse colleagues started the pick while we had the simulation open. And with this, we are very, very confident that we can reduce those ugly cases where you do some scheduling work, then leave the simulation, and then publish the simulation, and then get a message that tells you, you cannot save it, you cannot publish this. That was really, really not nice. And hence, we implemented this functionality. The biggest thing that we made in this release, though, was the automatic calculation of the earliest start date. So why is this relevant? And this is relevant because we are seeing customers and also hearing from partners that there are two types of requirements, and for us, they somehow go into the same direction. So the first requirement is that Hey, actually, I have production orders, maybe from recurring sales orders, that are quite a bit in the future. I'm running a long simulation period, so I'm looking at a long time frame, and then in a couple of weeks, in a couple of months, I already see the production orders for these future sales orders, or to fulfill a future demand. And if I work with the VAPS and say add all, then the VAPS scheduling engine kicks in, and the VAPS scheduling engine is as soon as possible. And then we always pull them way too much forward. So I know I have them. Maybe now it's April. I have production orders already in the system for August. I'm also looking at the longer simulation, but I don't want the VAPS to pull the production orders from August, whatever, into May. This is one of the requirements. The other is that sometimes, depending on how your routing structure is, you may have very short operations in the early phases of the production, and then longer operations in the later. So this is, for example, if you do some machinery production first, where you whatever, where you have very short cycle times, short operation, and then do some assembly afterwards where it's getting longer. And if you schedule a production order where the initial operations are short and the later operations are long, then it can happen that the as soon as possible scheduling finds gaps very early on for the small operations so that they get squeezed in very early, and then the production order has to wait a couple of weeks before we continue with the next routing steps. And this is also something that some customers do not want, because they actually look at, hey, I want to reduce my VIP. I don't want to have the production orders like being that much stretched, but I want to have the operations of the production orders rather close to each other. And a lot of this and these requirements to a large degree can be fulfilled and can be like coped with working with an earliest start date. And we always used to have an earliest start date as an additional restriction on all levels. So we used to have it on the production order level, on the production order line level, and on the production order routing line level. But so far, this field was just there, and you had to fill it manually with data. And then we would take this data as a constraint into account. So what we implemented now is the capability that this earliest start date field that used to exist for quite some while, that this can get populated automatically on the production order level. And we have two options on how to calculate the earliest start date. So we can put in a simple date formula so that we can say, I always want to start my production order at earliest 3 weeks before the due date. Or I want to start my production order at earliest 5 days before the due date, depending on how long your lead times are. This is the one option. And then we treat every production order exactly the same. We take the required due date that we have in the VAPS minus the offset that we have, and then we have the earliest start date. However, sometimes we do not, or you do not want to treat every production order the same, but different production orders have different time demands, right? You have production orders maybe with a longer setup time, a longer runtime, and others with shorter. And hence you also want to have a different offset from the due date. So with the option 2 that we call the weighted production order time demand, we calculate the net time that is needed for the production order. So we take the setup time plus the runtime multiplied by the quantity plus the wait time plus the move time, ignoring all calendar entries that are in between. So we really take the net time. And then you can define actually a multiplier with which we should multiply this net time. And if you take this multiplier and multiply it with the net time needed for production order, then this is a kind of a buffer time. And the earliest start date then of the production order is the required due date minus that buffer time. And when do we then, once we have decided for an option. When do we then calculate the earliest start date? We calculate it either when you refresh the production order or when you change the required due date on the production order, but or when you change the custom value, so the date formula or the multiplier, and we also have a new action, recalculate earliest start date. We have it on the VPS setup page, but we also included it on the production order so that you can recalculate the earliest start date for a single production order, or you can recalculate it for all production orders. And with this, let me quickly jump into the system again and go for another demo. And maybe I open the simulation that we just had. Let me view the simulation. And I have prepared a production order that we now look at how different settings can lead to different behavior. And this is this green production order. You see, my schedule is quite busy for week 7 to 8, and then depending on the work center, machine center, it gets a little bit more relaxed. And this is one production order that is far out. And you see, I constructed in a way that the first step is very short, and then the next steps are comparably longer, the last one then short again. So I need a bit of time in turning. I need longer on my saw. Then I need solid time on assembly and a very quick in quality control. And let me zoom in a little bit, and I made this green so that we can follow it in the process here. Now, if I double click on the production order, we see the earliest start date is empty. So now, if I say right mouse click and then apply routing, so if I schedule the production order following the as soon as possible strategy, then without an earliest start date, the following happens. Let me follow the green production order. It's this one. So it found this gap here. It found a gap in week 6 on the CTX 400 where it is supposed to start. And then because the following machine center is busy, we have to wait until week 9 before we can continue. And this is one of the cases where customers said, hey, actually, I do not want this. I do not want the production orders to get like torn apart that way. I do not want that everything is squeezed in here, but keep the things a little bit together. And I also do not want that things get pulled too early. And this can be prevented by the earliest start date. So now I could actually go to the production order and set an earliest start date manually. So I could undo it. And set an earliest start date here on production order level manually. But this would be then, I would have to maintain it for every production order, and this can be quite cumbersome. So what I can also do is under Netronic VAPS, on the VAPS setup, I have a new section that is called earliest start date calculation. And here you see my current earliest start date calculation is none. So currently, I do not calculate this. Then I can say, okay, I want to put a simple date formula and I want to start my production order not earlier than 3 weeks before the required due date time. So then if I change this, then I could either, after I made the change from here, I could either say actions, calculation, recalculate earliest start dates. Then we would do it for all production orders. I could also do it, this one was a firm plan production order. I could also do it from here. Actions, function, recalculate earliest start dates. Then we would calculate the earliest start dates for all firm plan production orders following the new setting that we made. Or this is my production order 10, 11, 16. I could also do it from here. I could say action, function, recalculate earliest start date, and now the earliest start date has been set to 3 weeks before the required due date. And 29 minus 21 is 8. Seems to be right. So this works. So now we have an earliest start date. So now let me go back to the simulation. It's outdated. So I update the simulation to get the new earliest start date on the production order. We view the simulation. Let me open it. Let me go to the green production order again. Over here, now looking, it has the earliest start date set. And if I click on this, then we also see the earliest start date as a new line. So now I'm clicking on it. I see the earliest start date and the required due date. So now I see the time frame in which I can maneuver on this production order. And if I now do the same as before, if I only schedule this production order, looking at the routing, then what happened is there was some free time here on the CTX 400 right after the start day of the earliest start date. So we scheduled it here, and then the saw is busy with those two productions. So we could not squeeze it in here. It didn't fit in here. It did not fit in here, so it had to wait. And then once we are done here, the assembly team is busy. So we have it like now closer together as before, but still there are some gaps here. So let me undo this again. And this is really something that we encourage you to play with and test if and how you need to have this earliest start date automatically calculated. This is also something that we can work with you. So we did a lot of tests, we did a lot of experiment, and we have some ideas how to use it and when to use it. But we have customers who have like a lot of production was very similar. Then I think it is very good to do it like I did it right now with the offset time from the due date. But if you have production orders where the throughput, the cycle time varies significantly, then I would always go for default early start date calculation for the weighted production order time demand. And then you can play around here with the weighting factor. By default, we set it to 8. So now let's just looking at time. Let's keep it at the default factor. Let's go again to the firm plant production order. Early start at 8th of March. Let me recalculate it again. And now you see it's a little bit later, so a little bit more compressed. And by the way, also on the production order here, the default setting is that the earliest start date, so we have now a VAPS section here, that the earliest start date calculation type, that this is inherited from the VAPS. But if you want to treat this production order differently, then you can also change it here. And if I change it here, then also these fields would change, but now I inherited from the VAPS started, and then we have the date here. So now it's the 13th of March. Looking at the time, I will overrun 2 minutes or 3. Let me go back to the simulation. Outdated again, so I need to update because with updating the earliest start date, I have new planning relevant information. And now let's do the test a third time with the green production order and now see how it behaves with having like the time frame in which I can maneuver it, having it shorter. So now let's go back again here. Select this one. Say apply routing. And now we see it is very condensed to each other. I think something now I was expecting it's late. Maybe the earliest material availability time just kicked in from the job queue. This is really stupid. Let me change this. So I tested how the earliest material availability date is calculated from the job queue and have it at 16:55. So it got calculated, and then it does not pull the work date, but it takes the today date. So it's scheduled into the 8th of April. So stupid Martin. Let me create the simulation again. And now I'm overrunning 4 minutes because I need to change the job queue for the EMAT in my demo environment. Anyway, sorry for that. So let me look at this again. Now the earliest material availability date of this is earlier because now it was based on the work date of my demo environment and not on my actual date. But now you also got an example what can happen if you set the EMAT calculation based on the job queue, if you set this up in a not that intelligent way. So now I click on this and I see, okay, here is the earliest start date. Now the time frame in which I can schedule it is even more narrow than before. And now if I say apply routing, we scheduled here because it does not, for some reason, the earliest start date is here. So then the CTX is busy. Then it goes to the saw and he needs to wait a bit. And then we need to wait a bit again for the assembly team to be ready, because when it is finishing here is already work-free time. But now this is the most condensed way. And this is really now with having the capability to calculate the earliest start date automatically, you get a lot of like scheduling weapons in your arsenal to make a more compact plan, to make a more intelligent plan. And actually later this quarter, I think in June, I will run a webinar where I will talk about how to manage and maintain a compact schedule. And there I will have much more use cases with this new functionality. So go to our website, netronic.com, go to webinars and sign up for this webinar if you're interested in this topic as well. And with this, let me very quickly conclude this. I showed this last time. The unspoken truth is, and I'm happy that this continues to be true, that after the release that we successfully shipped before Easter is before the next release. So in summer, we will actually ship a lot of new exciting stuff for the VAPS. We will have 2 scheduling enhancements. One that has been awaited for a long time. This is we will give the SDSD, the sequence dependent setup time, a new try. We will provide a very first version of this functionality that I know taking into account setup times when scheduling is a big thing for some of you guys. We will also allow, when moving multiple operations, to give them a new order in which we want to squeeze them in somewhere. We will make a better integration between changes on sales orders and changing on the required due date. And then on usability, we will allow that in the table of the Gantt chart, you can make a custom order of the work center groups, the work centers and machine centers, independent of how they are numbered in Business Central. And we will also launch a color scheme that gives you more insights in what's happening on the shop floor. And we also have identified more potential for performance improvements when creating the simulation and when updating the simulation. And with this, if you have questions, you can ask them now, but also feel free to send me an email. Feel free to send the question on LinkedIn. And if you're attending directions in San Diego next week or starting from Sunday, actually, then just watch out for me. I will be there wearing my regular typical Netronic t-shirts. I will be around there for all days, giving 2 sessions, and happy to sit down with you there and discuss what it means that Netronic is now part of Boyum IT and which joint opportunities we will have together going forward. And with this, sorry for overrunning a little bit, but thank you very much for your attention. It's always a pleasure. I'm really, really excited about what we are doing at Netronic, and I'm really excited about what we'll be doing in the context of the larger group that we are now part of. And with this, thank you very much. If you have no more questions, then have a wonderful evening, a wonderful day, depending where you are, and see you next time in one of the webinars or at directions in San Diego in a couple of days. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye bye.